If you want the ultimate braking upgrade for your EcoBoost or V6 powered 2015 to 2023 Mustang, then the PowerStop Z26 Street Warrior Rotor Pad and Caliper Kit will be the right choice for you. Whether you want more stopping power for your commute or for the track, PowerStop has constructed a high-performance kit that is designed to refresh and upgrade your braking system and provide you with improved stopping power at an affordable price point. And that makes this a great setup for a daily driven car that sees some spirited driving as well. Now, before we dive in here, just a quick note on fitment. This is designed to fit 2015 to 2023 Mustang EcoBoost and V6 models that are not equipped with the factory performance pack. Let's start with what is perhaps the most obvious difference from your stock brakes, and that is the rotors. Now, these are the drilled and slotted type, so despite being the same diameter as your stock brakes, these are going to be much better at dissipating heat than your stock ones. And keeping heat out of the brake system is important. There's nothing scarier than cresting a hill only to feel that pedal go all squishy and not be able to stop. The slots will channel heat and debris away from the pads, where the holes are going to give them another means of escape. In the front, they're going to go through the vents in the center, and through the back, they just have a way to get out again, because these are solid, non-vented rotors in the rear, just like your stock ones. Again, very helpful at dissipating heat. Now, any braking system is only going to be as good as the pads that are included. In this kit, you get a set of PowerStop's Z26 pads. These are made using a proprietary carbon fiber ceramic compound, which provides excellent bite and stopping power, which is appropriate for a street-driven muscle car. Like the rotors, these pads are excellent at dissipating heat while maintaining everyday drivability. They feature chamfered edges and slotted centers, plus they are thermal scorched for a faster break-in. You also get stainless steel shims on the back to help keep noise at bay. Now, lots of uprated brake pads lead to a compromise when it comes to daily use on the street. You may get more noise, you may get lots of brake dust, or they just don't bite as hard until you really get some heat in them. That is not the case here. These bite hard and they bite progressively, so they're easy to use and they make basically zero noise. So there's no compromise in brake performance or feel on your daily drive, and you can work them hard at the track too. Now, PowerStop also claims that these are nearly dust-free. Let's be honest, no brake pad is entirely dust-free due to the nature of how they work. You are scrubbing off material every time you hit the brakes, but these are a super low dust formula that is going to keep your wheels much cleaner. And that's especially great if you've got some nice aftermarket wheels on your car and you're like me and you just can't stand cleaning wheels. And of course, you also get a brand new set of calipers in this kit, and they've got this really nice shiny red powder coat finish to them, which gives you a little pop of color from the wheel well. They are dual piston up front and single piston in the rear, just like your originals. Now, these aren't going to be any larger than your stock units. Again, this is all stock sizing here, but since these are brand new, they'll give you the peace of mind that you've got all new brake hardware. So before you hit the road or the track, you'll know that you'll be able to stop quickly and safely. One more thing of note is that on the rear calipers, you've also got the emergency brake system set up in here already, so you are going to have to transfer over your cables or your actuators, but really, that's all going to be taken care of for you. The rotors are made using something called G3000 metallurgy. So what that means is that it is cast iron, but that iron has a higher percentage of carbon in the metal itself. Like the veins and the holes in the faces of the rotors, this composition is extremely helpful in dissipating heat. The rotors also, as you might be able to tell, have a silver zinc plating over top of them, which is going to help prevent rust and corrosion, so they're going to look good and perform well for a long time. The pads again use that proprietary carbon fiber ceramic compound designed for excellent heat dissipation, consistent performance and feel with low dust and low noise. The calipers come pre-assembled exactly as you see them here on the table, with all the hardware you need. You get new boots, gaiters, bleeders, cylinders, everything. So these are ready to go, again, right out of the box and ready to bolt onto your car. PowerStop also includes all new premium stainless steel hardware, so short of brake lines, this is going to give you everything you need for a complete brake overhaul, and it's really high quality stuff too. Coming in at around $1,300, this kit is not a drop in the bucket. However, good brakes rarely come cheap, but despite this carrying a not insignificant price tag, it's about the least expensive full brake kit on the market for the S550 that also includes drilled and slotted rotors, not to mention brand new calipers. Now, brakes are not a place where you want to skimp out, and with the Z26s, you don't have to. These are going to give you plenty of performance for your daily drive or the occasional autocross or track day, so if you want to get into that, this is a great upgrade that's not going to break the bank. Installation comes in at a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and installing this kit is definitely a job that you can accomplish at home. Expect it to take you around 3 hours or so to complete, maybe a little more if you've never done something like this before. And while this is a totally bolt-on setup that doesn't require you to make any modifications to your car, it is worth noting that you will need to do a full bleed of the braking system, since you've got to open the brake lines to get these calipers fitted. Now that might sound intimidating, but it's really not a difficult task, though it is going to require either a brake bleeder tool or another set of hands to complete. But we're going to walk you through the install process step by step right now, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, an electric ratchet and hand ratchet, channel locks, flathead screwdriver, a clamp for your brake line, an extension, 10mm wrench, caliper hook, 10 and 13mm sockets, 15 and 18mm swivel sockets, brake clean, a clean microfiber towel, as well as a brake bleeding device and .4 brake fluid. What's up guys? Today we're installing brakes on our Mustang, so let's get started. So now we have new brake calipers, pads, and rotors, so I'm gonna pull this caliper off in one assembly. I've got a caliper hook that I'm gonna hook onto the spring on the strut. And then I've got a pair of vice grips with some rubber tube on here that I'm gonna use to pinch the brake line. That's gonna make sure that we don't drain all of the fluid in our lines. Once you have all that set up, we're gonna take a 15mm socket to remove our 2 caliper mounting bracket bolts. And then get a hand on your caliper before you remove the second one. And then you can wiggle your caliper off the rotor. And then take your caliper hook and hook it up onto the strut. And now we can pull off our rotor. Now ours came loose when I pulled that caliper off of it, but if yours is stuck to the hub, just take a rubber mallet or a hammer and just beat around the edges of the rotor until that pops free, and then remove it. So now we can start assembling our brakes in the front, and then we'll swap over our brake line later. So first thing I got is the rotor. I've got it backwards on the hub first so we can clean that inner surface, and then we'll flip it around to the correct way and clean the outer surface. So take some brake clean and a clean microfiber towel and give it a wipe down. And then flip it around. I'm gonna throw a lug nut on here just to hold it in place. Now you do have this labeled as front driver's side. You'll have the same for all 4 corners. And then clean this outer surface. So now we're gonna hop over to the table and get our brake pads installed into our calipers as well with our hardware. So we're gonna take a 14mm socket, just remove one of the clamshell mounting bolts so that we can swing this open and install those. So now take that 14mm socket, remove one of your bolts so that you can swing this open, and then you can take your brackets, press these into place. You got one on each side. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other one as well. And then you're gonna take your brake pads. Now there is a wear indicator on one of them. That's gonna go on the inside, and the one without that wear indicator is gonna go on the outside. So we're gonna take our included brake lube, and we're gonna lube up our backing plate as well as these 2 ears, and then we can slide those into our brackets. So now once again, this wear indicator is going on the inside of the caliper here. So grab your brake lube, and then just get a thin layer on the backing plate as well as the 2 ears. And we're just gonna do that for all 4 pads here. And then the same for your other 2 calipers for the other side as well. And then grab the pad with the wear indicator for the inside and the one without for the outside. Close up your caliper, throw your bolt back in, take that same 14mm socket, tighten it down. And then we're gonna do that same thing on our rear caliper. And then do that same thing for your other 2 calipers, and we'll get these back on the Mustang. So now we can take our brake caliper and pad assembly and slide that over our rotor. And then grab your 2 factory bolts and thread those into place. And then grab that 15mm socket and tighten these down. So now we're ready to swap over our brake line from our stock caliper to our new one. I'm going to grab a 13mm socket to loosen up and remove this bolt. We have new crush washers, so we're going to be removing those as well. Grab that 13mm socket, break that bolt free. Now I've got a drain pan under here to catch the brake fluid that is going to come out. So now I'm going to grab my new crush washer and slide that onto our banjo bolt and put that to the side. Next, I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver to pop this crush washer off of our fitting. Pop that off. Our other crush washer stayed with the caliper. And now we can connect this up. And now take your banjo bolt with your crush washer and slide it through. And then grab the crush washer for the other side. Slide it on. And then start threading this into your caliper. Now make sure that your brake line isn't twisted. This is the orientation you want here with this kicking away from the caliper. Slide that all the way back flat. And then grab your ratchet and 13mm socket and tighten that down. You want to tighten that down good and tight so that those crush washers crush and make a seal there. So now moving on to the rear, we're going to start by disconnecting our e-brake cable. This is going to be the hardest part of the back here. So I'm going to start by taking the 10mm socket to remove this e-brake cable bracket bolt. So now that we have some slack on our e-brake cable here, we have 2 tabs on this clip that we're going to have to press in with a flathead screwdriver. And then we're just going to wiggle this out as far as we can get it for now. Now there's a little slot in here for us to fish the thin part of our cable through. So I'm going to grab channel locks to pinch this bracket and this together to get some slack to pull that out, and then we can just slip this right off our caliper. Pinch that together enough so that you can pull this out. And then you can release that and just simply pop that right off. So next we're going to move on to removing our whole caliper assembly. Now once again, I've got a caliper hook here. I'm just hooking it onto the tab on our subframe, and then I'm going to remove this brake line bracket so we have a little more movement. So we can put that over here. Slide that off to the side. I'm just going to throw my bolt back there so we don't lose it. And then we have 2 18mm bolts holding our caliper mounting bracket to the knuckle here. Now I've got an 18mm swivel socket. It's going to make your life a lot easier. You're going to have to get creative with your angles down here. And now I don't have a lot of room. I don't want my tool to get stuck from pulling this all the way out with the tool. So I'm just going to thread it the rest of the way out by hand. And then wiggle this off your caliper, off your rotor. And then just grab your caliper hook and hook this up out of the way. And now we can remove our rotor from the hub. Once again, if yours didn't come off when you pulled the caliper off, take a hammer, beat around the edges to get it to pop free. So now, just like on the front, get your rotor backwards on the hub first, clean that inside edge with brake clean and a clean microfiber, and then flip it around and get the other side as well. Now just like the front, I'm going to throw a lug nut on here to hold it in place. So now you can take your caliper and pad assembly, slide that over the rotor, and then reinstall your 2 bolts. And then grab your 18mm swivel socket and tighten those down. And now we're ready to swap over our brake line from our stock to our new caliper. Once again, I'm going to grab those vice grips with the rubber tubes on them and pinch that brake line. And then just pull this yellow cap out of your new caliper. And then just get your drain pan and a 13mm socket. Break that bolt free. And now take your new crush washers, slide the bigger one on the bolt side, slide that through. Put your other one on the other side here. And then thread it into that hole. And now grab your ratchet and 13mm socket. Tighten this down good and tight to expand those crush washers and make a seal. Now we can pop those vice grips off of our brake line and then get our e-brake cable reattached. So we're going to slide this over first and then use those channel locks to pinch these together so that we can slide this into our bracket. Now grab your channel locks, pull that nice and tight until you can get that plastic into that slot, and then push it in to engage your clips, and we'll reinstall our brackets. And now just reinstall your brake line and e-brake cable brackets. And then grab your 10mm socket and tighten those down. And then repeat that process on the other side, and we can move on to bleeding our brakes. So now we're ready to bleed our brakes. Now I've got kind of a homemade brake bleeding device here. I've got an old water bottle with some clean .4 brake fluid in the bottom. And then I've got a tube running out the top. I drilled a hole here to fit the tube through, and I also drilled a smaller relief hole so that we don't build up pressure inside the bottle. You're going to connect the other end of this to the bleeder valve, and then we're just going to use a 10mm wrench to crack it open. I'm going to have my buddy inside the car. He's going to hit the brakes, hold it. While he's holding, I'll crack this open, let the fluid out, close it up, and then he can take his foot off the brake, and then we'll just repeat that until we have a solid stream of fluid coming out of here. Now you want to do this in order from the farthest away caliper from the master cylinder to the closest. So in this case, it would be the passenger rear, and then the driver rear, and then the passenger front, and then the driver front. Now it's going to be the same exact process for all 4 calipers. I've already got the passenger rear one done, so we're on to the driver rear now. So just go ahead and pull that cap off of your bleeder valve, and then you're just going to put the tube on there. And my buddy's going to hop in the car. I'm going to use this 10mm wrench, turn it to the left, loosen it to open the valve, and then to the right to shut it. All right, so hit the brakes. All right, hit them again. Hit them again. And now we finally got some fluid coming out of there. Hit them again. And now we've got fluid coming out. We still got a lot of bubbles in there. So we're just gonna repeat that until we have no bubbles. Hit it again. And now we've got that solid fluid with no bubbles in there. So I'm going to take the bottle and go lower than the bleeder and tilt it off. And then that'll help to not get brake fluid anywhere. And then just put your cap back on. At this point, if you just did the driver rear, you would move on to the passenger front and then the driver front, and just repeat that exact same process until you get to the front. Make sure you're checking your master cylinder to make sure you're not running out of fluid. So after each caliper you bleed, go back up into the engine bay and top off with .4 brake fluid, and just make sure you don't run that dry. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the PowerStop Z26 Street Warrior brake rotor, pad, and caliper kit for the front and rear of your 2015 to 23 Mustang EcoBoost without Performance Pack or V6. Thank you for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.